Welcome to my new deep water winter series. Believe it or not, this fish was taken from over 41 foot of water. It was -2 last night. It's early December. We're still getting out there and catching a few. Hope you enjoy the series. Welcome to my new deep water winter series. We're mid-December now, 2022, and you join me at a lake called Esnes Quarry in the Midlands. So it's a new syndicate for me. I've had the ticket most of the year, but I joined it really for the autumn and winter fishing. Unfortunately, I've not really been able to get down here in the autumn, but we're now sort of 2 weeks into my winter campaign, and the idea is to try and come down, catch a few winter carp, and catch some from some pretty extreme depths that I've not caught carp from before. So a little bit about Esnes. It's a beautiful, really mature quarry. It's about 18 acres in size, and it has somewhere between 500 and 600 carp, I believe, somewhere in that bracket. Majority of these carp are stockies. It's run by Ed Matthews. A lot of you all know Ed. He's obviously a fish farmer and does work in the angling industry. So yeah, all these fish are really beautiful, scaly fish, and they're all stocked quite unusually, actually, at real small weights, like between £1 and £2, I believe, the majority of them. So that was quite a few years ago. I'm not exactly sure how many years ago, but the majority of these fish now are into the mid doubles, and there's a lot over 20 as well. So you'd probably say the average size fish in here is somewhere between 12 and 18 pounds, roughly, I'd imagine. But there is a fair number of them going over 20 pounds. Some of these little ones that were put in kind of like just at £1 4 ounce, £1 8 ounce, are now doing like 25, 26 pounds, some of them, and they're stunning, scaly fish, like real nice fish. I caught a few fish from here back in the spring. I did a few afternoon sessions and caught a few nice scaly ones, but nothing big, all kind of mid doubles. Yeah, it'd be nice to catch a 20-pounder. So my campaign didn't start here. Like I said, we're 2 weeks in now, and I started off coming down actually around 2 weeks ago. It was the end of November. We hadn't had any frost. We hadn't had any cold weather at the time. It was just before it turned. And I came down and I wanted to do a little bit of baiting up. So I come down with my spawn rod, marker rod, and picked a swim called the boat swim. So it's a swim that is, it commands a large area of water, as most of the swims here at Esnes do. But it's in the bowl end of the lake, and an end where I just kind of had a hunch that maybe the carp might spend a lot of time in the winter. So I got into the swim and I actually used something that I've never used before, and that was a deeper. I'm not a huge fan of them, but I do believe they have their time and place, like all modern technology does in carp fishing. And for these extreme depths that we have here, I believe that was something that would come in quite handy. Now we've got depths, I believe, down to kind of 55 foot, something like that here. I know there's certainly multiple depths of kind of 40 foot. There's 3 shelves. It goes down kind of 20 foot, then or sort of 12 foot, 25 foot, and then down into kind of 40 and beyond. So yeah, basically I used the deeper to have a little bit of a look around in the swim, to kind of get a gauge as roughly where the depths were. And then I basically got the marker float out and used that just to kind of guarantee that it was actually that depth. You know, when you use technology for the first time, you might not necessarily 100% trust it, but it was very accurate. It was very deep out there. The area that I picked was like 13 meters roughly, which was it was anything between 39 and 41 foot, kind of the zone that I was targeting. So I had a fair few casts around there and made sure that it was somewhere I was comfortable fishing. Basically popped the float up, and when you're spomming at that depth and putting bait out, you know, there's loads of people that question how far you need to spom short of actually the spot. And the easiest way I find to do it in that deep water, anything kind of over 20 foot, is to pop your float up and cast your spom next to your float. I did that, and it actually was 18 foot short. It was like a rod length and a half short of my fishing rods, which surprised me a little bit. I didn't think it'd be quite that far. So yeah, and I ended up putting maybe 2 or 3 kilos of boilies out that session. I think it was 15 mil DNA boilies. I was paranoid about the spread of bait in that depth of water, so I thought boilies would go straight down to the bottom. And yeah, that was my first kind of recce trip down here. And I came back on the Sunday just after that. So I think that was like the Tuesday or Wednesday. Came back on the Sunday, put another 2-3 kilo of boilies in, and that was kind of my first initial bit of baiting up done. So the following Tuesday was time for my first night. So I'd had 2 baiting up trips, and yeah, it was time to come down and do a night. So I got down here at about lunchtime. It was cold. We'd had the first frost of the year the night before. It was very cold. It actually was down to -5, and yeah, there was no ice on the lake or anything, but it was very cold, very still, flat, calm. And I got down, got the rods out fairly easy. I'll talk a little bit more detail about rigs maybe later on in the vlog, but just simple D rigs. And I had a variety of hook baits on, didn't really know what was going to work. So I had boilie tip with corn, I had a bit of foam, tip with some maggots, and then a boilie tip with some maggots. And I put all those out there. I did put a little bit of bait over the top. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that a little later on. And yeah, that was it, and kind of called in for the night. Obviously long nights in the winter, so yeah, huddled up with Ralphie in bed and stayed warm. Interestingly, at about 12 o'clock midnight, they started showing kind of in the zone within sort of a couple of rod lengths of where I was fishing, roughly. You know, they were out there, and I was thinking, you know, it's looking good, you know, I could get a bite here, but nothing happened. Dawn came round. It was a freezing cold morning. It was ice and frost everywhere. It was, like I say, it was -5 in the morning. But I still felt semi-confident, I suppose, but until you get that first bite in those depths of water, like say 41 foot, you're not really confident. And I suppose always at the back of your mind, you're thinking about, you know, should I have zigs out there? There's that much water. Really, zigs probably come into their own. Yeah, I stuck at it, and then at about 10 o'clock, 10:30, this happened. Okay, here we go then. First fish from Esnes of this new winter series. And, yeah, went off about 10 o'clock this morning. Got here last night, or yesterday afternoon. It was freezing last night. Everything was frozen over this morning. It went down to about -2. I did see a few fish show in the night about 12 o'clock. I saw another one show this morning, all in the kind of zone. But to be honest, until I got that first bite, I was unsure as to whether I was fishing in the right depth or whether I needed to be on zigs. But this one's just proven to me that actually fishing on the bottom in 41 foot of water early December was definitely the right thing to be doing. So we'll get a slip back, and hopefully there's a few more on the cards. What a great start. Yeah, I was proper buzzing, obviously, to get off the mark first night. I thought the chance had gone, and like I say, to catch one off that depth of water. My deepest ever carp I'd ever caught before was 30 foot or 32 foot from a mere over in Shropshire. So yeah, it was the deepest I ever caught a fish from. I was pretty sure I could catch them from those depths. You know, there's some pretty famous pits like Bundy's pit that you know, notoriously does fish right up till Christmas, generally off the bottom in kind of 40+ foot. So I was pretty sure I could catch them. But yeah, I was proper chuffed. So then following on from that session, nothing else happened. And I came back on the Sunday, and the weather just took a turn for the worse that week. It just got colder and colder, and we actually had a load of snow the weekend. So I drove over here on the Sunday afternoon. I was debating whether I should or shouldn't really. The roads were pretty bad. I nearly got stuck on the car park, but I did. I came over and put in another maybe 1.5 to 2 kilos of boilies, and then 3 tins of corn as well. I thought I'll start introducing a little bit of corn. I was fairly confident that I'd get down in the depths. So yeah, we're now talking like sort of 3 bait ups. I did bait up after my night as well, I should say that. I did put a couple of kilo boilies in after I caught that fish. So we've had kind of 4 bait ups up until that point. And that brings us up till today, which is our second session. So we've just done our second night. We're mid-December now. You can see in the background there's still snow on the ground. It hasn't cleared from the weekend. The temperatures haven't got up much above 0 at all. And we got down again yesterday lunchtime, so Tuesday lunchtime, parked at the top in the car park because it was still covered in snow, and barrowed our way round to the swim. And basically, yeah, I repeated what I did last week. I put 3 rods out, and I decided to stick with them all on the bottom. I thought I've got to give it a proper go. I can't just start playing around with zigs straight away. You know, I need to give it another night with all the rods on the bottom and see if they are really getting on this bait. So they all went out, just kind of spread them out where the bait went, and they all went out lovely. And I did put some bait in, and I said last week I put bait in as well, and said I'd go into a little bit more detail. And up until this point, I'd just put boilies in, just boilies, and obviously that little bit of sweet corn the weekend just gone. I wanted to get maggots down there. They're the best winter bait in my opinion, and I think if you can get them down onto the spot, then you've definitely got a better chance of catching fish. But I was paranoid that they'd just kind of get drifted away with the undercurrents in 40 foot of water. I wasn't just going to spawn them from the surface. So what I did was I got 9 rocks out the lake, 9 small rocks. I did, like I said, I did the exact same last week as well. Dried them off, and made stocking bags, like mesh bags of maggots. So really big bags, kind of filled the whole large funnel web tube of maggots and kind of compressed them all down. So they were kind of like a reasonably sized bag. They all got a stone in them as well. And the thinking being was that they would get maybe 3/4 of the way to the bottom before melting. I did test one in the edge and they were taking about 15 seconds to melt. A 4-ounce lead's taking 16 seconds to hit the bottom in 41 foot. So I figured that they obviously wouldn't sink that quick. But they might get sort of 3/4 the way down, then break up, and then it's essentially just like spomming from 10-12 foot, and you get a nice spread of maggots on the bottom. So bit of a pain. I had to dry the spom out between every cast, obviously the PVA, and then load your bag into the spom and then cast it out and dry the bag out again and so forth. But they all went out, and they went out perfectly. And it's even colder this week. It's absolutely freezing. And if I'm honest, I was kind of questioning my sanity a little bit last night. It was so cold. It went down to apparently -7. I've been told now. It was saying -6 on my phone. But yeah, one of the locals has just messaged me and said it was -7 in the village last night, apparently. But yeah, went to sleep, and me and Ralphie kind of just got in bed and tried to stay warm. And yeah, again, at about midnight, they started showing again. But this time right on the spot. They weren't left, they weren't right like they were last week, kind of a little bit either side of the spot. They were bang on me, and they were booming out as well. You know, I probably saw 8 to 10 shows within 2 hours, between 12 and 2. I wasn't awake that whole time. You know, the one would wake me up and then I'd sit and watch for 10 minutes and see another couple. And I was thinking, like, they're right on the spot. They've got to be on the bait. You know, why else would they be right on me like that? But nothing happened. You know, it was very quiet. I didn't really have any liners or anything. And again, you're kind of questioning, you know, should be on the zigs. You know, are they up in the water? Why haven't you had a bite? But yeah, it was nothing happened, and I kind of woke up this morning to a real thick fog. It was freezing, absolutely freezing. You could hardly see the other side of the lake, to be fair. It was so cold, and everything was frozen. All the rods were frozen, bivvy, absolutely everything. And yeah, it was a stunning morning, but yeah, didn't look great, to be fair. The sun broke through, and you know, it started to look a little bit better. But yeah, I kind of thought I was pushing it, to be fair, this week. I thought it was just too cold, even though I'd seen those fish. Yeah, and that was kind of the morning, the kind of early morning period done. At about 9:30 or so, I decided to wind my left-hand rod, the one that was on the hinge rig, 1 on a hinge and 2 on maggots last night. I wound that in and put an adjustable zig on, and I thought I'm going to leave 2 on the bait, and I'm going to chuck 1 just to the right of the spot, and put it sort of 15 foot under the surface, something like that. So I just sorted that out, and Ed, the guy who owns the fishery, walked round and wandered into the swim. And I hadn't told anybody about the fish that I caught last week, other than kind of mates that don't fish here. And that's not me being like a secret squirrel and not telling everybody what I'm catching, because at the end of the day, it was a 12-pounder. But it's more because, you know, I'm putting in a lot of effort to come down and kind of bait up an area, do something a little bit different. And I want to kind of keep it a little bit quiet and try kind of, you know, have my fun, you know, and reap the rewards if I can, really. If someone drops into the swim, sees fish showing and catches one, then absolutely fair play, you know. I'd do exactly the same if I saw fish showing somewhere, you know. But if someone knows you're baiting up there, you know, sometimes you can get people dropping on your bait. So to try and avoid that, I just thought I'd keep it quiet for now. But obviously I told Ed, I said I caught one last week, and he said actually it was probably the deepest fish that had ever been caught from the lake, that he knew of anyway. He said all he knew of was fish getting caught to about 28 foot, which was interesting. But yeah, as we were talking, it was getting up to kind of that bite time from last week, and you wouldn't believe it, the left-hand rod, one of the 2 left on the bottom, just pulled up tight and just started taking line, just like a slow take, almost exactly the same time as last week, just after 10 o'clock. And yeah, I was bent into a fish, and it come in fairly straightforward. Ed netted it for me. Yeah, fish number 2. So yeah, got a little bit of footage for you to see now. Here we go then. We're back down. It's week number 2, and we've got another carp. Again, unbelievably, 41 foot of water. As you can see, there's snow on the ground. It was absolutely Baltic last night. Went down to -6. It was only the fog that probably stopped the margins freezing. So cold. But they were showing again. They were showing over me around midnight to 2 o'clock in the morning. And again, I had the same kind of feelings. Maybe I should have been on the zigs. I hadn't had a bite. And then again, just after 10 o'clock this morning, Ed was just standing with me in the swim, the guy who owns the lake, and left-hander on the maggots again off the deck, just taken off. So yeah, again, another small one, probably 12 or 13 pounds, something like that. But so rewarding to catch them when it's this cold. I've had so many people texting me saying like, you're mad to be out, which I probably am, but so rewarding. So yeah, it feels like it's coming together. Those baiting up trips coming down here, and yeah, even if I can just nick one a week, like it's a right result in this weather. Yeah, happy days. Still a couple of hours left, you never know. Might get one more till next week. So it's fair to say I'm pretty chuffed. 2 weeks in pretty cold conditions, you know, -5 and then -6, -7 last night, fishing in 40 odd foot of water to catch 2 fish. It makes the driving over, putting the bait all worth it. You know, 2 small ones, you know, got a little bit unlucky with the size, 2 sort of 12, 13 pounders, but bites are bites. They definitely won't be down there on their own, and like I say, there's loads of 20-pound scaly fish in here that I'd love to catch, and there's a few bigger ones as well, you know, there's some 30 pounders in here as well, but realistically, you know, be lovely to catch one of them nice scaly 20s. So yeah, I've actually since dropped that zig right down to sort of 8 foot off the bottom now after I've had that bite, yeah, nothing else has happened, but yeah, proper chuffed. You know, I'm going to put bait in at the end of this session. It's about midday now. I'm going to sit it out another couple of hours just in case, and I'm going to put some more bait in at the end of this session, just some boilies and some sweet corn again. Then I'll come down and do the same on Sunday, and then again I'll come down and fish next Tuesday, and I'll do the same with the maggots and just repeat that process next week. Weather's going to be a bit different next week. Apparently it's going to be sort of 50-mile-an-hour wind, not necessarily on the day I'm fishing, but kind of in the lead up to it, which could affect it in a negative way, because it's going to stir all that kind of water up, and it could kind of cool the layers down, which could be good. It could push more fish down, or it could lift them up in the water into kind of layers. I'm not sure, but we're going to come and fish anyway regardless, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, we'll keep going, like I say, stick it out another couple of hours today, and if you don't hear from me again today, the next update will be next Tuesday when we're back down. We might be down with a friend called Nick. You've seen him as a friend of the channel. We fished at Norton Disney with him back in August. He's also a member here, obviously. Hasn't fished it at all. I think he's done one morning back in the spring. So yeah, we're going to come down and hopefully do a social next week. Potentially the next 2 weeks he might be coming as well. So yeah, hopefully the bites keep coming, and yeah, really enjoying this winter series. Catch you later. Morning. So we're back down the lake. It's just a few days after I last spoke to you. Saturday morning. You can see rods are out. Bit of an unplanned trip this morning, actually. I wasn't meant to be coming down till tomorrow, Sunday, to bait up, and then Tuesday to come and fish again. But with those last couple of bites coming at the same sort of time, 10:30, I thought maybe there's a chance to come down and nick one on a short half a day session. So yeah, didn't do the night last night. I was working. Could have come down at like 10, 11 o'clock last night, but I'm keen, but I wasn't that keen. It was still -3 last night, so yeah, wasn't keen on setting up in the dark. But yeah, so got down first thing this morning, and it's still treacherous, to be fair. There's still all snow everywhere. It's been even colder since I last spoke to you. The 2 nights following my night on the bank were -9 both nights, so there's still obviously snow everywhere, and ice and frost and whatnot, but no ice on the lake. Lake's completely ice free. Not exactly sure why. All the other lakes locally, all the big reservoirs and that, are all frozen solid, but maybe it's something to do with the depth. I don't know. Maybe someone watching knows why deep lakes don't freeze over as easy. I'm not sure. Yeah, so got down here, and it was still dark when I got here, to be fair. I mean, it was light enough. I could have got my rod straight out as soon as I got here, if I'd have been a bit more prepared. But I had to kind of put all the maggots on the rigs and everything, and get sorted. So it took me maybe 45 minutes or so. All the rods went out by about 7:45-ish, something like that. And it was still kind of half light, I suppose. And because it is just a morning session, and I'm kind of guessing that bite time's 10 o'clock, obviously it'll probably prove me wrong today and I'll catch nothing. But working on that basis, I wanted to get the rods out a good couple of hours before that. So, and also I didn't want to make too much disturbance, so it was literally just 3 single hook baits out there. Same sort of things that I've been fishing, just little bits of yellow foam tipped with maggots. And yeah, they all went out sweet. You know, got good drops on all 3 of them, and it looks good, to be fair. I didn't bother putting any bait out or anything. Like I say, I don't want to disturb it too much, just kind of get those hook baits down on the deck and see what happens. But there is a new wind on today, a southerly wind. It's only gentle. and the temperature has improved a little bit. Like I say, it was -3 last night, which is a little bit warmer than it has been, but that is kind of the last cold night for a little while, I think. From tonight, it's going to be sort of like 2-3 degrees, and it's going up as kind of warm as like 8-9 degrees in the night over the next few days. So it was a bit of a warmer front coming in. The wind isn't going to be as strong as I first thought. I think I said it was going to be like 50 mile an hour earlier on in the week. It's kind of changed now. It's going to be like 15 to 20 mile an hour gusts, but still a decent chop on the water, especially on a bigger lake. So yeah, we'll see what that does to the fishing. I'm not really sure, but it looks good. Looks good for a bite. So I guess if we're about 9 o'clock now, so an hour away from so-called bite time. I guess if you hear from me in the next couple of hours, it's because I've got one. If not, I'll speak to you on Tuesday. Catch you in a bit. Morning, we're back down the lake. It's Wednesday now. I saw you Saturday after that half a day blank session, and yeah, we got down yesterday about lunchtime, same sort of time as normal. I did have to work last night, so I came to set everything up basically, and then went back for work and then come back. But I thought, yeah, I'll come down in the day, get my bivvy and everything all set up, and I wanted to get some bait in as soon as possible because I hadn't baited up since Saturday. So I did my maggot bags as normal, got the stones and tied all those up, got those out there. I also put a bit of boilie and sweet corn in as well. Like I said, on Saturday the weather's improved and it's continued to improve temperature wise, so I wanted to get a little bit of bait down there. Yeah, got all that sorted, that all went out nice, and then went to work and come back on the evening. I got back maybe about 9 o'clock, something like that. Well, I got all the rods out for 9 o'clock. I was probably back here at about 20 past 8, something like that. Obviously come round to the swim. All I had to do really was just tie on some fresh hook baits. I put all of them on actually whittled down yellow 12mm pop-ups with a big bunch of maggots on the top of them, and just trim the pop-ups down just so they're sunk really slowly. Yeah, they all went out nice, got some food on, and basically called in for the night. It was there was real low cloud, a good breeze. We had quite a lot of rain in the night as well, so I didn't hear or see any fish. To be honest, I was knackered, so I didn't actually get up in the night, but I wouldn't have heard or seen anything anyway. It was too loud with the wind and the rain. So yeah, I woke up this morning, nothing's happened, absolutely nothing, not seen anything, no liners, no nothing. It's really odd actually. Obviously it's my third night now, and a half a day session, and the first 2 nights obviously being -5 and then -7. You know, caught a fish when it just really didn't look likely. I know I saw fish in the night, but didn't look likely at all. In the last 2 sessions it's looked loads better, and yeah, nothing, absolutely nothing. I haven't seen anything, and obviously no bites. You know, we kind of past bite time now. We're coming up to midday, or the bite time that I caught those 2 fish on. So yeah, a little bit not really sure why I haven't caught anything else, to be honest. So yeah, I've actually got to leave in a minute. I can't really stick it out for the afternoon today, so we're pretty much done. So I think I will stick a little bit more bait in. I'm debating whether to come back or not next week. Nick hasn't come today. He hasn't. He was going to come, I mentioned, on Saturday, but he's not very well, so he hasn't come down. So yeah, I think I'm going to come back next week. I'm not 100% sure yet. I feel like I'm not quite getting it right, if I'm honest. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely chuffed to have caught those 2 fish in those weather conditions, and that on its own really has made the little series worth it. You know, at least I've caught a couple, you know, from those depths in that weather. You know, I'm absolutely chuffed with that. But if I'm completely honest, I wanted to catch more. My feeling was that if I could find where they were and kind of the depths they were at, that I could catch a few. I know the weather's been crap, but I still think that you know, there's a possibility of catching a good number of fish if you get it right on here in the winter, and I don't feel like I've quite done that, if I'm completely honest. Yeah, not taking away anything from those couple of captures, but I think there's definitely more fish to be caught. So whether that's moving to a different area of the lake, a different depth, or whether it just needs to be coming up onto zigs, I'm not sure, to be honest. It doesn't feel like it's zig weather, if I'm honest. It doesn't feel like, you know, I feel like you should be able to catch them off the bottom somewhere. The water, I'm sure, hasn't cooled all the way through yet. But yeah, so this may or may not be my last piece to camera. If I don't come back next week, then obviously it'll be my last bit. It'll be my last bit of filming. But if I'm here next week, then obviously it won't be. So if it is, I hope you've enjoyed the little series. Hopefully might have inspired you to get out in some cold weather. But yeah, if you haven't already, drop the video a like and the channel a subscribe. I appreciate it, and I'll catch up with you next time I'm on the bank. See you later.